Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Mark Sage. I'm the Executive Director of the Area Augmented Reality Enterprise Alliance, and welcome to our latest webinar, Empowering Frontline Workers with AI. I'm really excited to be here with long-term member TeamViewer, who are real experts in this space, and we're going to be taking you through what's actually happening in this space, some really great best practice, and how you can really help your frontline workers. So firstly, thank you, Lisa and Will, for joining us. And Lisa, maybe I could ask you to introduce yourself first and then over to Will.
Hi, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa. I'm a TeamViewer responsible for our OT solutions, so operational technology. So also, of course, our AR solutions that we have out there. And mainly what I do is I cover everything around our solutions out there in the field in action. So how we actually bring solutions to our customers. Yeah, and that is what I'm doing. So I would hand it over to my colleague Will to introduce himself.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Mark. I'm Will O'Reilly. From the name and the accent, you probably realize I'm based in Ireland, so I'm in the UK and Ireland market. Of course, TeamViewer is a German company, so I'm over to HQ a lot. But I'm looking after the full gamut of what TeamViewer sell and what we provide as solutions. Which there's a lot of AR solutions that I work with businesses on. I have a background in manufacturing. I was a manufacturing engineer in R&D with HP and High Tech for about 10 years. So I do understand those processes and working with engineering and technical teams. And yeah, really excited to be talking to you today.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Some questions then. We've all heard the saying, guys, that kind of never change a system that's working. But in today's fast evolving world, you can't just stand still. We're living in a global world where AI is really, really important. So Lisa, let me ask you the first question. Why has digitizing frontline operations become such an urgent priority?
I mean, I have brought some numbers with me today to kind of walk you through why this is so important. Because as you said, at first glance, it might be, never change a running system. But if you go to the next slide, actually, that is where I have brought the numbers for everyone. Yeah, perfect. So when we look at this first one, 80%, that is actually the amount of people who work away from desks. So that is something where we don't really have an impact in a lot of ways. This is where we see a lot of analog operations. This is really people out there in the field working with machinery, or as we would like to put it, they work with their hands every day. That sums up around 2.5 million, or that leads to the fact that around 2.5 million skilled workers are projected to be missing out of these 80%, to be honest, until 2028 due to an aging workforce. And that is creating a significant skill gap already. So we all know how labor shortage is one of the very pressing issues out there right now. So really, we are missing people. But how can we, make operations more productive? How can we kind of increase the efficiency in really that sector? And that brings me to the next point, which is 1%. So when we think about it, 80% are working away from desks. But as crazy as it sounds, only 1% of digitalization investments today go into these 80% of workers that work with their hands. But we all also know or are realizing that this digitalization would actually help us to make these operations more productive and help to close the skill gap, which is currently projected to be 2.5 million people. And now you could say, well, this all doesn't sound good. Where does that lead us? Well, this is exactly what I've been talking about. So right now, when we look at the statistics already, 87% of decision makers out there have realized that digitalization is there to help making these hands-on operations more productive, more efficient, and really that the adoption of digital technology will ensure that their operations are going to be future-proof, even looking at all of the hardship that is out there, for example, higher competitive landscape, and also, of course, just the missing talent, so to say. So right now, what you said in the beginning, Mark, never change a working system, that is currently actually the biggest enemy. So doing nothing is just not an option anymore. And we really need to tackle those people who are currently under digitalized, who have been oftentimes forgotten in these, digital transformation projects and so on. So we've really come to a point where companies cannot afford anymore to not digitalize that space.
Which is great. Thank you, Lisa. And it's good to know. But where does TeamViewer fit into all of this? Aren't you just kind of a company that primarily focuses on IT support?
Yeah, I'll take this. I get asked that a lot. TeamViewer is known and very well known as the market leader for IT remote support. We have been for 15 years. So we are the market leader in footprint across customers. We're also the market leader as regards security, enterprise level integrations, native integrations into SAP, ServiceNow, all of the different ecosystem parts that these big companies would have. So what we started with is the first panel here, which is PCs and laptops, and that's what people know us as. And then it extended into mobile, so mobile devices, just support for those, so iOS, Android. And then it was kind of a short hop from there into what we see here is this is a coffee machine, but anything from a coffee machine to a windmill that we can remote into from a software perspective with the same level of security, the same integrations, but that you can solve problems without that travel. And then through acquisition, this last piece, which is the whole AOR suite of solutions that we have. Through acquisition, we introduced those solutions about 5 years ago. So these are very mature solutions now, but we continue the R&D through the whole suite of products. And it's all about connectivity. It's all about integration with the ecosystem, and it's all around security. And with that full kind of evolution of what we do from a connection point of view, that's where we've come to today. And that's why I think we have a unique offering in this, and quite a mature offering as well.
So, great. We kind of understand some of these challenges. How are you kind of really changing some of this stuff? Can you talk a little bit about not just the technology here, but some of the kind of management and workforce challenges that you see?
Yeah, so I have in the introduction kind of spoken about the high level challenge of productivity. So right now, operations need to be as productive as they can be. And that can be even further broken down into kind of like day-to-day challenges, if you want so. So we see them both on the management side and on the workforce side. So we have things like just ineffective performance management, really managing several locations. That goes hand in hand with more globalized operations. And as I mentioned, also the lack of people, lack of experts in their fields, and of course also meeting customer demands, which are more and more increasing. We're talking like real-time support. I mean, everyone knows that. As also a consumer, you are out there, you have something that is not working, you want support now in this highly connected world, right? There's not really an excuse anymore to not deliver things on time. And on the workforce side, there are, of course, things that go hand in hand with the lack of digitalization that I've talked about. So tasks are getting more and more complex, but they don't really have the right tools to make them easier. Oftentimes, it's really outdated technology that they have to work with, like outdated tools, outdated hardware. Whenever you step or I have stepped onto a lot of warehouse floors or shop floors where people are working with like old stationary computers, etc. So you can say digitalization is there, but maybe not to the degree that it's best supporting the workforce. And of course, yeah, this all leads to the fact that they are just missing these digital tools that could make them more productive.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for kind of explaining some of the challenges. Hopefully we understand. Lisa, how is TeamViewer breaking the cycle, and how are you kind of driving real change?
I would not say TeamViewer is just alone in breaking the cycle, but really when we are talking about AR solutions, especially when we are talking about enterprise AR solutions, they are really designed with the human in the center. So it's all about empowering these people who are lacking these digital tools, and the software is mainly designed to solve these day-to-day issues that we are seeing. So one of them, for example, is easy knowledge transfer. So oftentimes how these AR solutions are designed is they give you context-based information. They give you bite-sized information. So it is something that you can easily absorb and easily act on. And that, of course, in the end leads to fewer errors. Like if I have the information that I need always in my field of view, I make less mistakes. I can, double check information. Again, also, of course, it has something to do with being hands-free. So every time we are talking wearables, it is something that you wear on your body and it's kind of like a personal assistant, so to speak. So that is something that is definitely increasing productivity in these scenarios. And at the same time, it's creating just a better, more ergonomical workspace for people that are out there on the shop floor. And the last point, of course, it's super connected. So it's not just that the person is connected with the data or the information that they need to do their job, but they are also connected to other people. So the devices are connected with each other. So I can just check in with my supervisor and get help or, get some guidance that I need to solve a certain problem. So these are really the core elements that I would say that enable anyone working with their hands to be more productive and be more efficient in what they are doing, while they are reaping the benefits also at the same time for themselves.
Okay, great. Maybe, Will, you can speak to this one a little bit more, or Lisa?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose, it's all down to the business outcomes. When it comes down to it, we can have all these really cool looking solutions, but what impact do they have on the business? And we see them across 4 different sections, I suppose, and we have some nice results here for speed around picking. Quality obviously is very important, and again, accuracy, yield is huge there. Insights I might dwell on in a minute, but and then employees just about empowering them and enhancing worker satisfaction. But if for me with insights, because we're digitalizing this frontline worker and a worker who doesn't necessarily have a digital interface a lot of the time in their day-to-day work up until this point, we're capturing more and more data and giving them more and more data. So you end up in this virtuous cycle where you're really enhancing the intelligence of the organization through data capture, looking at that data, and then gaining those insights and then improving your processes. So you get all of these different things, but you also get that virtuous cycle of innovation, and you stay at the cutting edge of this. So yeah.
Perfect. Will, let's talk to you. So it's great to see AR in action, delivering real value. But can you dive into a little bit deeper into this, Will? Why are companies turning to AR, and what do the use cases look like, and what does a successful AR journey look like in real life, in practice?
Yeah, so I think we have an example, and it's one of our modules. See if that.
Machine uptime has a significant financial. The objective is to secure uptime for all customers.
So I don't know if people were able to hear that properly. It's just like that's just 12 seconds to give an idea of Bobst and what they do, the types of machines that they supply. So they create packaging. And these are very high throughput machines. And I suppose it's one of our modules is AR remote support that can be done on a phone or a headset. On a phone you can view it in 3D depending on the headset, whether it's a HoloLens or RealWear or something like this. You'll see it in different ways, but we can annotate on the screen, and as you can see here. But what the kind of pains that Bobst had were for their customers, because these are very robust machines that generally kind of have quite a bit of uptime. If there's any downtime at all, it really pains their customers. And they would have sporadic downtime as any machinery would have. And their customers would be looking for support from them. If they have to travel before they can fix the solution, it just means more downtime. And once you're into kind of minutes, into kind of an hour, you're into tens of thousands of cost here in throughput. So it's the cost of downtime on the machine. Sometimes it's the cost of travel of their own technicians. So what they implemented was it's a kind of classic OEM model, OEM support model, where their experts from Bobst would connect with the technicians, the experts connect with the technicians at their end customer to see what the issue was, see what I see type call, annotate on the screen, share diagrams with them, whatever information they needed to get back up and running. The results speak for themselves. You can see them here. Electrical issues, they could connect them to the right person in Bobst to see what the issue was, and 80% of those could be solved remotely. And also 90% of issues were solved within 2 hours, which was a big improvement of what had happened before. And then I suppose the communication barriers were taken down. So we have, our Bobst would have different customers with different, working in different languages. They'd have contract manufacturers in different areas. And the chat functionality within the Assist AR module translates automatically for a wide array of different languages, and just makes that communication easier. Makes the machine downtime less. Where travel was still needed to fix those machines, Bobst were able to send the right person with the right skills, right skill set, because they could see what the exact issue was, and they could also pre-send the spare parts out to site. So again, reducing those delays.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got another example now, haven't we? So there's another video coming. Let me just play this video.
Yeah, I think this is just kind of overall what this isn't related to the Bobst one. There's probably, people can't see the small writing down at the bottom, but process speed 40% increase. We do have a really nice video on that. People will be able to see it on our website or on YouTube. It's where Airbus are showing side by side their old paper-based process for an inspection and kind of inspection and retooling of one piece of equipment versus doing it with a headset. And you see them side by side, and you see a 40% reduction, or the first person is finished that a long time quicker. That improves accuracy. This accuracy, where we're looking for 100% accuracy, is that sort of picking process with Coca-Cola. You see improved to 99.99%. If you send out the wrong pallet or the wrong package to a customer, it's a huge impact on these sorts of businesses. So the higher the accuracy, even 0.01% of accuracy can really have an impact. And then training, obviously, you can pre-load training onto headsets that can come from work orders, from SAP, from all sorts of different ERP systems, and be uploaded again. But training, because you don't have to handhold the trainee once they're safety certified, you can really supercharge that, and you can also give them support through the Assist AOR module as well. So huge value to add.
Perfect. Thank you, Will. So we kind of talked a lot about why, but maybe we'll talk a little bit about how people can actually do it. Lisa, kind of how does the technology work in everyday operations?
Sure. Happy to dive a bit deeper into that. And I'm already seeing some of the questions also revolving around how are we actually delivering the information. So I think this is a good one to kind of explain where we see the biggest value add for customers. So what from our side is really important that these solutions run pretty much device agnostic, because every use case kind of calls for their own requirements, if you want so. So if I have a technician out in the field that just needs simple remote support, a phone might be the correct way to deliver that to them, and brings the right the right technology, if you want so. We also see this kind of augmented reality use case, if you want so, a lot with training. So anything with 3D models, anything around, really diving deeper into this type of matter works really great on these type of devices. And then on the right, we mainly focus on assisted reality devices as we see the biggest value add, especially in productive environments. So that's when the hands-free aspect comes in, especially, for example, for logistics use cases. So something where you need to consume a lot of information at all times. That's really where this firstly, hands-free aspect. I mean, if you're picking items, it would be great if your hands are free. And of course, you have this high cadence of information that is coming to you. You need to verify a lot. You need to feed a lot of information back into the system. So this is really where that type of device shines a bit more, let's say, and it becomes more of an everyday tool, like a personal assistant, if you want so. And that is where we have the next video brought with us for one of our customers explaining how this works.
wegfiel und dass die Aufträge oder die Prioritäten einfacher zu erkennen waren für die Kommissioniererinnen und Kommissionierer, konnten wir so bis zu 20% Zeit schon sparen. Darüber hinaus fallen natürlich durch den neuen Prozess auch so circa 100.000 bedruckte Papiere weg pro Jahr. Die Inventurgenauigkeit, die hat sich drastisch erhöht. Die Kommissioniererinnen und Kommissionierer sehen auf einem Bild in der Brille, wie das Teil aussieht. Wir wissen ganz genau, ob es eben ein Set ist oder eine Box oder ein Stück und können entsprechend genau abzählen und entnehmen.
Okay, so I think that gives us a kind of a good view on actually how it's being used. Let's go on to the next question. If you can talk a little bit about what companies should do when they're looking to implementing AR into their kind of processes. I think.
Yeah, so and I recommend, even if it's not at production level, if it's even at a proof of concept level, to follow this same sort of process. And you know, somebody's asked, Shelley's asked in the chat about being in pilot purgatory and getting out of there. And this, to me, like having been an engineer and working on engineering projects, it's that first step is really important. It's about getting the right stakeholders involved from each of the different areas, whether that's the end users, IT, engineering, technical people, but having a champion in each of those areas, but also having a high level sponsor, I suppose, somebody who, you know, makes everybody accountable and who can kind of sign the checkbook at the end of everything to expand the usage of this if all of the KPIs have been hit. So KPIs, defining those, you know, early on as to what is success here, but also tying that to milestones, to a timeline, so that you can, you know, have check-in dates to say, okay, this is the project timeline, these are the deliverables. If these deliverables are hit, then this is success, and then we can discuss what stage 2 is, what stage 3 is. And it depends. If it's a proof of concept, that's bringing it into production. If that's production on one site, then it's, you know, moving into other use cases. The workshops are really, really important here, because you want people in, you want people hands-on, you want them to own it. If we get ownership, that's where kind of half the battle is. And then I suppose it's you know, once you have those like specific use cases, that you're quite tight on those, that you're not trying to boil the ocean. You're doing 1, 2, 3 specific use cases and trying to prove them out. Moving on to, you know, configuration and integration, and people are saying, yeah, integration, it's expensive. There's a few parts to that. One is the technical integration, so the APIs into your ERP system, into your ticketing system. If it's pushing and pulling data, the great thing about TeamViewer is we have those pre-built in a lot of cases. And there is configuration, but it's about mapping those fields as opposed to building, you know, that from scratch, which really does help. We work either with our own professional services team, or we work with implementation partners. We will handhold you through the process of, you know, configuring and then doing that kind of rollout, defining the testing, all of that stuff, but hand-holding people through the process. And then, you know, that rollout, you know, documenting everything, making sure you're happy with ownership when it comes to handing everything over. And then just having that ongoing conversation, having good SLAs from the likes of TeamViewer, where we're very responsive to your needs, and you know, having constant feedback, check-ins, you know, having a good account manager who from your technology partners like TeamViewer to come in and to make sure everything is a success and is happening well. Other things here, like just, and I see them coming up in the questions, is you know, hands-free, are they kind of overrated? That comes into the workshop piece. You know, it's if you don't need them, you don't necessarily need them. You can use tablets, you can use phones. They can be ruggedized these days. So that's perfectly reasonable. I see that's asked by Marcus in Airbus, and the Airbus example that we've given, that's very much hands-free, because the person who's doing the inspection needs that to be hands-free to really, I suppose, see the instructions and to interact at the same time. So it depends on the use case. And somebody else, I think it's the first one here, has asked just about, okay, lack of continuity in those 3D AR headsets, so the real kind of area, or devices like HoloLens. And I suppose just what we have, you can use that full 3D with a tablet, but we work with you with those. We work with you whatever device you want to work with, but then it would be stuff like RealWear headsets, which you know, are AR Assist, I suppose, and Almer, which is a really interesting device as well. So I think we might have some stuff on that later.
Perfect. Yeah. And just to kind of summarize that and to answer some of the questions, you know, I think, Will, you did a really good job saying it depends on the use case and it depends on what they're doing. Remember, we're focused on frontline workers here. So often they need to go in and do a job, do it effectively and efficiently, and make sure that that's been recorded. that may need a kind of a augmented reality device, or it could be assisted reality device, or it could be a tablet. So again, I'm a big fan of really understanding the needs, and I think your process in the workshop really helps with that. Okay, let's go on to I think our final question about and we see this one of the common challenges that the area works on, and many companies talk about, is kind of really good sort of human factors and design and organization support as well. So Lisa, are there some best practices that companies can follow to sort of address this, and what can you do to share some insights on that? Let me just move you on to that one.
I mean, definitely. We have, I personally have been in the field for like 7-8 years now, and it always feels like 30, I would say, because the space is so fast evolving. But I would say adoption is one of the challenges that kept consistently being there. Just as simple as that, humans don't really like change. That is something that is scary. Everything that is new is kind of scary. And that is really where the first point comes in that we run into. It's kind of like, it ties also back to the workshops that Will had mentioned. It's the explain the reason, like really take your time to kind of lay out, why is this important? Why are we doing this? We're not doing this. I mean, we haven't seen a customer really to like rationalize staff or, make people disappear, but it's rather to support the people that you have in a better way. So really, when you start explaining that reason to your workforce, they are more likely to buy into it as they see kind of the effect on their everyday work, and it creates a better working environment. It creates less frustration. And involving them early, like not just be like, oh my God, this is the new solution and you're going to use this from tomorrow on, but involve them in choosing the hardware. Maybe someone doesn't want to use a headset for whatever reason. Give them a different device. That is where this really device agnostic approach comes in. And also, firstly, based on the use case, obviously, but also secondly, just on the humans that you work with. Everyone will have their own experience. Everyone will have their own needs. And I'm not saying have a use case with 23 different devices, but rather really be receptive for the concerns that come from the workforce. And then definitely training. So train the people, start with a few early on, create your champions internally, really get them on board and make them understand the technology. Usually, or in the best case scenario, it's such an easy to understand technology that it's like just super intuitive to use it from day one. We actually have some customers who planned training time of like 2-3 weeks. But suddenly, once they realize how easy it is to use, everyone kind of wants to jump on. And then sometimes we need to shorten that to ramp up more people in shorter time, actually. And then the last one, which probably refers to a lot of things in life, but you cannot over-communicate. So really stress that point. Be very transparent. Consistently remind them why this is being done. And most definitely meet them where they are. So really try to understand where they are coming from, what their potential fears are, and then communicate accordingly. So those are really kind of the key pillars that we see as one of the most important things to drive adoption among the workforce.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Lisa. And it probably part of the answer to Shelley's question about trying to get out of pilot purgatory. I see these kind of activities being crucial, not at the end of the project, from the very start and all the way through. And the other thing I would add to that is kind of demonstrate and show the product as much as you possibly can to all parts of the organization as well. Okay, which probably takes us really nicely on to kind of FAQs. I know, Will, you've done a good job of answering some as we've gone through. From one question about aren't hands-free wearables very overrated? I think you're, again, just ad-libbing your answer to that. It's all about the use case. And to Lisa's point, you can get the right kind of device at the right time. And that also reflects, I think, one of the questions about what we're going to do without the HoloLens 2 and the Magic Leap 2. There are other solutions out there. We talked about RealWear. We've talked about tablets. We probably are still waiting for the next augmented reality device, and then we're all working towards that. There was Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
And I might want to add to that. I mean, from our perspective, it's very exciting for also wearables to enter the consumer space more and more. I mean, we are seeing the Meta and Ray-Ban collaboration. Like, those are the kind of steps that bring it closer to our life realities as consumers as well. So that will, again, also drive that market. I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, well, I suppose if we went through all of these things on the left, there's loads of new challenges. For me, we have an upcoming event where it's all around the skills gap and skills shortage, but there's such a number of different things that AOR can solve these days with technicians and engineers. So we talked about the business outcomes, and that's what this is all about: higher speed, precision, accuracy, and employee satisfaction, employees being engaged and kind of empowered to do their jobs. And you know, this is something that feeds into the whole data and AI space over time. So it's something that, you know, it's a level of data and information that we're not gathering from our frontline workers. So really do think that to future-proof your organization, this is something that really needs to be explored, adopted, and implemented as soon as possible. We did have on the right there is just we offer it's called like an AOR readiness assessment, one of our AOR experts, and we'd love to offer this to anybody who would be interested on the webinar here. So the QR code is there if you want to scan it. There's just a form to fill in, and we'll hook you up with one of our AOR experts for a short session just to kind of, you know, see where you're at, you know, sort of a small gap analysis, and see kind of what the next steps for you might be on your AOR journey. Whether that's if you're at the very start, or if you're midway through, or if you're in pilot purgatory, you know, we're here to help. So, and here to just provide that kind of free advice for anybody who needs it.
Perfect. Lisa, any final words?
Not really from my side. I mean, I could go on for hours. As you see, we are slightly over. So yeah, I think that puts a good end to it.
Wonderful. Well, Will and Lisa, thank you very much for your insights. You know, it's really important that frontline worker, I think the information you provided and the size of this market is huge. And you know, thank you for your insights and information today. And thank you for people listening, and look forward to speaking to you again. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.